So here we are finally back again with our live stream after a lot of disturbances. Finally we are doing it. So before starting the live session, I will want you to like if you love this video, and share with your friends, and do subscribe to my channel if you are new. And in this live session we will be discussing about 10 programs based on for loops, right? To know more about the for loops, and where we left we'll start from there only, and from now onwards the live shall continue regularly. So let's begin with it. Okay, so let's begin. So we have our first question, I guess. So we have our first question here. And here we are. What the hell is this? Okay. So we have our first question. Actually there are a lot of technical glitches today. Let me check it. We need to fix it and then we can continue actually. Wait a second. So back again. So write a Python program to find whether an entered number is a prime number or not using for loops, right? So for this we'll open up an IDLE file, new file let's say, and we'll move on to our, firstly we'll take a variable, let's say x. In this variable we'll take the input, we'll take the input of the number, okay, and then we'll go for a counting variable, that is c, and it will graduate each and every time x is divisible by a number, okay. And we'll take the for loop now. So in for loop, for I in the range 1 comma x integer division 2. So in this case the value of I, or we will check for the values of I which will divide x till from 1 to half of the value we have entered, right? So why we are doing this? Firstly, let us check it. Okay, so let's say we have a number 1 and we have a number 45. So 45, half of 45 we will it will be, let's say 22, and 45 is divisible by 1, 3, 5, 9, 15, all this, right? So in this case all the numbers that can divide 15 are less than 22 actually, and numbers which are greater than 22 cannot divide 45, right? So we will not go for that thing. so that our program remains a bit simpler rather than being complex. So we will take till the half of the number we have entered. Okay, so we have taken it, and then we'll go for an if condition each and every time the x is divisible by 1. Okay, now x modulus I equals to 0. Each time I divides x, we will graduate c by 1. Will graduate c by 1. Now outside this for loop, what we will do, we'll go for conditions of c as well as the conditions for value of x. Now for a prime number, the value of c should always be less than equals to, the value of c will always be less than equals to 1, right? And for value of for being a prime number, the value of c should always be less than or equals to 1, and x should not be equals to 1. And for this condition, we shall print the entered number is a prime number. Okay, in case if this condition is not satisfied, then it will either the number will be 1 or it will be a composite number, right? So for that we will take an elif condition in which we will go for composite number first. So in this case, if c is greater than 1, right, and x is not equals to 1, so in this case x is not equals to 1, sorry, there we should place a and x not equals to 2, it should be another condition will be, and x will be not equals to 1. Okay, then for this we will print the entered number is a composite number, right? Composite number. Okay, and there should be another condition where, let's say, the value of x is 1. So in this case we'll just go for else and print the entered value is neither prime nor a composite number. Right? And here we go. Now we'll save it firstly, save the file. Here we go. Yes, and now we'll run it. So let's say we check for 1. The entered number is neither a prime nor a composite number. Okay, then we will check for 2. Let's say 2 is a prime number. Let's check for 5. Then 5 is also a prime number. Here we get the result. Let's check for let's say 9 is a composite number, and here it is working well. Then we'll check for 12 is a composite number, it is also working well. And in this way we can see that our program is doing good. So with this, our first question is ready, and now we'll switch on to our next question. For this we'll open up a new Python file and switch on to our next question, that is Write a Python program to print all the prime numbers between a user entered range. Now this question is a modified version or little bit trickier part of the first question only. In the previous question, what we did was we entered a number and checked whether it was prime or not. But in this case, we will enter two numbers and print all the numbers that are prime which lie between these two numbers, right? So for this, the concept of nested loop comes handy. And now let's see how we'll do the question. So for this, we'll take a variable, let's say var1, in which the lower limit will be taken as the input, and the input enter the first value, let's say the message will be shown, and in var2 we'll take the input of the upper limit, sorry, int, and here input enter the last value, let's say. Okay, and we'll take a counting variable once again, c equals to 0, and take a for loop for I in range var1 to var2. Okay, and now we'll take the value of, initially set the value of c to 0. We don't need to declare the value of c here, and we'll declare the value of c is equals to 0 here, and then we'll go for another for loop for j in range. J in range will be 1 to I integer division 2. Okay, now we took the value outer I for loop as I in range var1 to var2. Okay, so we'll the for loop will run for the value of I starting from variable 1 to the variable 2, right? And the j will check whether the I is divisible or not, and each time it divides I, c will be graduated to 1, right? And if c is graduated to 1, and check for if the value is composite number or a not, or a prime number or not. If prime number, then it will print, and if it is not a prime number, then it won't print, right? Now we'll place a if condition here, and if I modulus j equals to let's say 0, then c will be graduated to 1, right? And outside this inner for loop, that is for j condition, we'll check if it is a prime number or not. For that, we'll check if the value of c is less than equals to 1 or not, and x is not equals to 1 or not. And if this condition is satisfied, then we'll print the value of I simply. I, and press a comma, and yeah, here it is. So this was it. And before that, we need to make the program more attractive, and for that we'll simply print here the prime numbers between var1 and var2 are, yeah, this is a string value, and now we'll save it. Let's control S. It will be, let's say, 2.py. yeah, 2.py. We'll save it. and then run it. Let's say, oh, we forgot to give the and, sorry, and now run it. So let's say our upper limit is 10, our upper limit is 1, and the value of last limit will be, let's say, 20. X is not defined. Oh, sorry, it will be I, right? I forgot. And yeah, the lower limit is 1 and the upper limit will be 20. So in 20, yeah, here we need to give another thing after this comma, that is the string printing will end with end equals to this, and here it is. So this why we are giving this end, right? So end is used when we are finishing printing and we don't need to skip to the next part, next line, right? And in this case, the use of end keyword comes into play. Our string will print the next line after or the next iteration. The value will be printed just after where we ended, and here it is. We'll save it and then run it. Yeah, so we'll run 1 until 20. So what are the values? So the prime numbers are 2, 3, sorry, 4, 11. 4 isn't a prime number. I have to check it. Divisible by 2. 4 isn't a prime number. C should be equals to 1. Actually, C's graduation is here, and we have to go for C equals to 0 after this, right? Actually, that may be the problem. One to 20. Why it is 4? Equals to 0. I modulus j equals to 0. I should be 1 to 2. In that case, 1 divisible by 1 divisible by 2, and x is less than equals to 1. I not equals to 1 in that case for 4 actually, and that is divisible. C should be equals to 1, right? Let's say we'll print the value of C also with this. Let me check where we are doing the problem. And 20. So the value of okay, yeah, actually this will be plus 1, right? Actually for 4 what happened was that so we should simplify and make the algorithms in such a way that it is generalized, right? So in 4 it was exceptional case because when we divided 4 by 2, our value was 2, right? And in the j condition, what did we give was from 1 to 2. So 2 is the upper limit, right? And for 2 the loop will not iterate, and the same thing happened. For that we were getting 4 as a prime number, but it is not a prime number, right? So let's check now, and here we are. Let's say 1 and 20. Yeah, so we'll remove the C's from here, and our code is ready. Okay, 1 and 20. I guess some are thinking about why shouldn't we go for 1 to 100. We'll do it between 1 and 100. Yeah, here are all the prime numbers between 1 and 100. So we'll continue like this, right? And this is what it was. So with this, our second program is also ready. Let's verify it once now. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, 53, 59, 61, 67, 71, 73, 79, 83, 89 and 97. So our program is doing good, and now let's go for the next program. Before that, we'll open a new file and close this one, and our next program is here. So in our next program, what we will do is we'll go for printing of patterns, right? Now how printing of patterns comes under the looping, right? So in this pattern we can see that in each and every line 5 number of asterisks are printed. So we can see that printing of 5 asterisks is repeated for 5 times. So iteration of same operation is done here, firstly, and secondly, the iteration of printing of asterisk for 5 times in each line is done. So here you can see that printing of asterisk 5 times and that printing of asterisk of 5 times for 5 times, both are in a looping process. So here our first question of pattern is here, and we will solve it, right? So for that, let's see, we'll take a variable and how many times it is given? It is given 5 times, right? Okay, so we'll take a variable, let's say for in which for I in range of 0 to 5, okay, and inside this we'll take another for loop for j in range, let's say 0 to 5, in which it will print the asterisk for each line, right? And then here we go, we'll print simply asterisk and give an end keyword. Okay, so where does why we are using end here, right? So in we know that print function prints a particular string value and then skips to the and then jumps to the next line for the next operation for next operation, right? So in this case, what we are doing is through end keyword we are just putting the cursor where the string was finished, the printing of string was finished, so that next time the printing occurs from that particular position only, right? And outside this for loop, what we will give is print a \n, and where does \n comes into play? \n is used for jumping it to the next line, right? Okay, so we'll save it, print simply, let's say 3.py will name it, yeah, and then run it. So here it is, our pattern is ready. We have printed asterisk for 5 times in 5 lines. So this was our third question, and now we will jump on to the fourth question. So let's see what is the fourth question. Fourth question is pretty easier. In fourth question, what we did was we printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5 times, right? So in J, what we in the last question, what we were doing was we were just printing asterisk for each iteration of J. Now in this question, what we will do is we will just simply print the value of J by graduating it to 1, right? So when the value of J will be equals to 0, it will be graduated to 1. For 1 it will be graduated to 2 and printed. For 2 it will be graduated to 3. For 3 it will be graduated to 4, and for 4 it will be graduated to 5. And in this way we will print the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5 times. And here we go. We'll just simply change one thing here instead of rewriting the entire code, right? We'll do smart work instead of hard work. Okay, so we have graduated it to 1, and now we'll save it as 4.py. okay, and now let's run it. So here our next pattern is also ready, and with this our fourth question comes into an end. We have solved the fourth problem also, and now we'll jump on to our next question. For that we have opened a new file, and here we are, boom. So this pattern seems a bit tough than the previous ones, but no, it is totally fine and it is totally easy. So first of all, let's go for the logics first, how we did it, right? And let's say in this particular line, for the first line we have printed asterisk only once. In the second line we have printed asterisk only twice. In the third line we have printed asterisk thrice, and in the fourth line we have printed asterisk for 4 number of times, right? Now could we establish a common relation between printing the number of asterisks in each line? Yeah, you are correct. The yeah, we will just simply print asterisk for the I number of times. Okay, for zeroth value, for first line we will print asterisk for once, for second line we will print asterisk for twice, for third line we will print asterisk for thrice, and in this way this continues, right? Okay, now we'll rewrite our code now, right? Okay, so for firstly we'll take a for loop for I in range, let's say 0 to 4 this time, sorry 1 to 5 this time. Okay, and inside this loop we will take another loop for printing each lines. Okay, so for this we will take another loop for j in range, let's say j in range 1 to I. Okay, no, for this we will take 0 to I, because each time it will print 1 less than the I. So we have to start from 0 so that exactly I number of times it is printed. And now we will go for printing of the asterisk simply, and then end the line here. Okay, and now outside this for j loop will simply print of \n so that we can skip to the next line now. Okay, yeah, here it is. And now let's save it. We'll save it with 5.py, let's say. Yeah, and now let's run it. Yeah, so our program is doing well. In first line 1 number of time asterisk is printed, in second line twice asterisk is printed, in third line thrice, and in fourth line 4 number of times the asterisk is printed. So with this our fourth problem is also finished. We have solved our fourth problem, and now let's move on to our next program or next question. For that we'll firstly open up a new file. That is important, how you can do it in the previous file, right? Okay, so our next question is here. So in next question, I guess the questions are becoming trickier with each increase in the number of values of the question, right? But no, this is also easier. Let's see. Write a Python program to print the following pattern. So in first line, how many number of asterisks we have printed? So in first line we have printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we assume that the value of I is 0 in the first line, okay, and the value of j, what will be the value of j now? So we have printed 5 number of times in the first line. So how much is 5 minus 0? It is obviously 5. So in the first line, the value of j will be 5 minus 0 times as printing of asterisk. In second line, it is 4. Let's say in second line, value of I is 1. So 5 minus 1, it will be 4, right? So how many times we will print the asterisk? 4 times exactly. And in this way, we will solve our problem, right? Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Let's take a value for I in range 0 to 5, let's say. Okay, and end for j in range 0 to 5 minus of I. Okay, and then we'll simply print the asterisk here. And then end equals to, and here it is. Last line, we'll again print the cursor to next line, and here we go. Let's save it. I'll simply name it 6.py. And with this we'll run the program. Traceable recent line 4 in module. Okay, sorry, print. Yes, and now let's run it. So our next question is also solved. Fifth program. Exactly 5 number of times asterisk is printed in the first line, in the second line 4 number of times, in the third line 3 number of times, in the fourth line 2 number of times, and the last line 1 number of times. So we'll close it simply and then switch on to our next program. For that we'll firstly open a new file, and now let's check. Yeah, this seems much more trickier, but it is easy also. For solving this kind of particular questions, what we will do is, let's understand the logic behind this. Paint. Sorry, excuse me. In first line, exactly once the asterisk has been printed. Exactly once the asterisk is printed. But before this we have got some spaces, right? So we'll simply print space. Let's count how many number of spaces. Here is 1. First let us divide these segments diagonally. Sorry, not diagonally. Let's divide this segment so that we can understand. And each and every asterisk or space represent one block or cell, to understand this thing better, right? So in first line we have got 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks of spaces. In second line we have got 1, 2, 3 number of blocks, 3 blocks of spaces. In third line we have got 2 blocks of spaces, and in last line we have got 1 number of blocks, 1 block of spaces. But for asterisk we have got in first line 1 block of asterisk, in second line 2 blocks of asterisk, and in third line 3 blocks of asterisk. In fourth line we have got 4 number of asterisks, and finally in fifth line we have got 5 number of asterisks. So firstly let's understand how many number of spaces, or with what logic the spaces will be printed, right? So in first line, let's say if the value of I is equals to 1, okay, no sorry, for the value of I is equals to 1, let's say, so we can see that number of spaces, if we 5 minus 1 is equals to 4, so number of spaces printed is exactly 5 minus I times. In second line it is 3, value of I is, let's say, 2, so 5 minus 2 we get 3. So we can establish that number of times spaces is printed is 5 minus I, and number of times asterisk is printed is exactly I times. Okay, so we will simply take two loops within a loop. Okay, so for each line, for spaces, for printing space, one loop will be continued, and for printing asterisk another loop will be there, and in this way we will simply solve our program. There exists another generalized way for this printing of this particular pattern, but that seems to be much more complex at this particular situation where we are standing. So we'll solve it with simpler way. So for that we'll firstly take a value for loop for I in a range 0 comma 1 comma 6, let's say, because we have to print how many number of times? 5 number of times. So 5 lines will be graduated to in 6 only, right? Okay, inside this we'll take firstly the for loop for printing of spaces for j in range, let's say 0 to 5 minus I. Okay, so for first line 5 minus I is 4, from 0 1 to 3, 4 number of times. Here we go, print this space simply and end with this, end with a blank string. And in next line, after finishing the printing of for, we'll go for printing of asterisk. Okay, in the range zero to how many times? Number of times I. Okay, so here we go. Again print asterisk here and end with a blank string, and outside all this both these for loops will print simply next line, so that we can move on to our next line for after the next iteration. Right now let's save it. We'll name it with 7.py. Here we go, and now we'll simply run it. So we can see that our program is doing quite well, and we have very well established the logic behind this particular question and solved this. So with this, our fifth program is sorry, what number of question? Seventh program is also ready. Now let's switch on to our next program. Before that, we will simply open up a new file. Okay, and then we will switch on to our next program, that is eighth program. So in eighth program, what is the question? Oh, before that we should solve another set of pattern, that is printing of pattern. So what we solved through this question is actually these are, let me show. Actually all the four segments constitute a quadrilateral. Okay, and okay, let's divide it. Let's see, through this part we have solved this one, we have solved this particular part. Okay, with this one we have solved this particular pattern. Okay, with this thing we have solved this particular pattern, but this particular pattern remains unsolved, and I am sorry that I didn't give it in the question, but no issues, let's go for it. Okay, so what will be our next pattern? Our next pattern will be, let's say, one, two, three, four, 5 space 1, 2, 3, 4, next space 1, 2, 3, space 1, 2, next space sorry. So in next question what we will solve is this particular pattern. So let's solve it. Okay, so we could see that how many number of spaces are printed firstly. So each time in each line number of spaces is printed exactly 1 less than the value of I. Yeah, so in first line, if the value of, sorry, exactly the number of time the value of I. Okay, so in first line, let's say if the value of I is 0, then how many number of spaces are printed? 0. In second line, space or value of I is, let's say, 1, number of spaces printed was also 1 in second line, and in third line number of spaces was 2, so value of spaces were the number of spaces that were printed were 2. In fourth line the value of I was 3, so number of times spaces printed were exactly thrice. And in fifth line value of I was, let's say, 4, so the number of times spaces is printed is exactly 4 times. In case of asterisk, now number of asterisks printed is exactly, we can say that 5 minus the value of I. Okay, so 5 minus the value of I. In first line value of I is 0, 5 minus I we get 5. So exactly 5 number of times asterisk was printed. Acha, in next line exactly 4 number of times the value 4 number of times asterisk was printed. Value of I in second line was 1. 5 minus 1 is equals to 4, so 4 times, and in this way the pattern continues. So let's solve this firstly. Yeah, so I'll take a for loop here for I in a range, let's say 0 to 5. Okay, and then for j in a range 0 comma I, 0 comma I. Yeah, so we'll print here the space. Okay, and then end it with a blank string. Yeah, and in for patterns we'll go for k in a range, let's say k in range 0 to exactly 1 exactly I 5 minus I. So 5 minus I here, Okay, and here we go, printing off the asterisk, printing off the asterisk and ending with a blank string, and then outside both these for loops will simply print a next line. Okay, here it is, and then save it. Let's say we'll 11.py, save it, and now we'll run it. Okay, oh, this was so indentation is very important in Python, and for an indentation we can get a error. Oh, and spelling of range is not okay. And so our pattern is ready, and with this we have solved all the 4 coordinates of our quadrilateral, right? In Mukherjee, nice Abhijit, good job, thank you bro. Saurabh Mukherjee, Kalanda, thank you for supporting me. Yeah, and in next line what we can do is in next question we will move on. So next question what we have is this particular pattern. So we were solving this particular quadrilateral, right? Now what we have got is we have to print exactly the upper portion of this particular quadrilateral or the pattern quadrilateral, right? So how we will do this? Okay, it's not a big deal. In first line, how many number of spaces are printed, we have to firstly check, and in what or which coordinates the spaces are printed. So we'll copy this, let's say do it in Paint. Okay, and now we'll go for this. Firstly we will divide this thing, entire thing. No, actually we cannot divide this thing, right? Because there's a problem regarding this particular question. We will go for the more generalized form of solving this. That will be a bit complex but worth it, right? So in first line we have printed exactly once. In second line we have printed exactly thrice. In third line we have printed exactly 5 times, and in fourth line we have printed exactly 7 times, right? But what about number of spaces? We have got 1 space here, we have got 2 spaces here, we have got 3 spaces here, right? First line, 4 minus I if the value of I is 1. Okay, in second line, 4 minus I if the value of I is 2. In third line, the value of I is, let's say, the value of I is, let's say, 3. So 4 minus 1 I is 3 is equals to 1, and in this way we can print the spaces. Now for asterisk. Asterisk part is much more trickier. Okay, so in this case what we will do is, we will for each and every line, what we will do is, how many times we need to print exactly, we will see this firstly. So in the first line, 7 minus 3 times, 4 times we have to print. In the second line we have to print 1 2 3 4 5, 7 minus 2 times, 1 2 3 4 5 6. In fourth line, how many times? 7 minus 6 times, once. So what we can establish a great connection between asterisk printing number and space printing number is, what we will do is, we'll just have to iterate exactly 7 minus the number of times space is printed. Okay, and for that what we will do, because we have to do something to get this thing. Acha, for the first okay, we can go for more generalized. No, we don't need to go for any generalized part. Okay. Yeah, so in first line, let's see, first line example, 4 times. In second line, 5 times. In third line, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 times, and in last line 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 times. Okay, in this way we will do. Now establishing logic between printing of asterisks also done, and spaces also done. So what we are waiting for? We are just waiting for nothing. Okay, so our iteration will be done exactly minus 1 times. Okay, and how many times asterisks will be printed, and for what particular positions asterisks will be printed. Let's say we have got the value of I in first line, which was, first line was let's say 1, right? So 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. So what we will do is printing of for the values which will be greater than the 4 minus of 2, for those particular spaces we will just simply print asterisk. Now solve it. Enough of discussion, now we have to solve it now. Okay, so for I in range 1 comma how many, 5. For j in a range okay, we can do another one thing, 3 4. Okay, what we can see is in more generalized way, we are exactly doing it 5 minus 1 times the printing of yeah, naturally, yeah, this is a trickier question, but we will solve it. Let me solve it first. 0 to how many number of times? 7 minus I. 7 minus 4 minus of I. That can be done. Okay. Now for each spaces, if the value of j is the value of j is less than 4 minus of I, less than less than 4 minus I, then what we will print is print space and end it with blank string, and if the value of j is greater than equals to 4 minus I and less than 7 minus 4 minus I, then we will print asterisk and if not we have to end this, end it with a blank string, and lastly outside this for loop we will print our next line. So let's see where it is. So our upper portion is ready. We did it with a bit complex but more generalized way, and in this way we have to think, so that we have to write less number of lines and get the better output. So with this we have solved our 8th program also. Now let's jump on to our next question. What is our next question? It is our next question. 8th, 9th. So our 9th is exactly the reverse of what we did. Now in this case we have to increment everything by 1. That is first line what we did was 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 1. Okay, now let's establish the logic for this one, and in last thing what we will do is combine both these programs and build as one program to print the entire parallelogram. Thank you everyone for supporting me. I am very glad that you are supporting. This motivates me a lot. Thank you. Thank you Subodha, thank you Bijoy. Now next new file. Okay, in this file. So firstly we will go for again the logic, and then we will solve this thing. Okay, now firstly let's see, in second line exactly twice, once, third line exactly twice, in first line 0 times, in fourth line 1, 2 and 3 times the spaces are printed, in last line 1, 2, 3, 4 times the spaces are printed. Let's say if we run the iteration from I equals to 0 to I less than 5. Okay, so for value of 0, how many number of spaces will be printed? 0 times. For I equals to 1, exactly once it will be printed. For I equals to 2, exactly twice the spaces will be printed. I equal to 3, it will be thrice, and for I equals to 4, it will be 4 times. Now for case of printing the asterisk. Now for in case of printing the asterisk, firstly we will check how many times asterisk plus spaces are being printed. Okay, in first line 9 times printing has been done. In second line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 1, 8 times printing has been done. In third line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, exactly what to say, exactly 1, 2, 7 times printing has been done. In 7 times printing has been done in the second line. In the fourth line, in the fourth line exactly 1, 2, 3 and 3, 6 times, and in the last line 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 times it has been done. So we can see that how many number of times the printing of asterisk plus space has been done. Okay, so we can see establish a connection between 9 and 9 and the value of I. So when the value of I was 0, exactly 9 times printing was done. Okay, now for the value of value of I equals to 1, means the second line, exactly 8 times it was been done. So you can establish that the printing is done exactly 9 minus 1 times, isn't it? So we will simply do that only. 9 minus I time iteration will be done for each time, and for the value of j less than I times the spaces will be printed. Okay, not exactly j less than I times, j less than equals to I times. Okay, and for rest of the time asterisk will be printed. Yeah, so let us build our program, build our code. So for I in range 0 to how many times? 5 times. 5 times. Okay. For j in range 0 to 9 minus I. Okay, 9 minus I. If value of j is less than or equals to 0, less than or equals to I, what will print? No, leave it. Yeah, so value of I is less than or equals to value of j is less than or equals to I, let's say. but there remains a not actually. So we'll print space end it with a blank string, and if it is not a space, then if j is greater than equals to Sobbosachi, thank you Sobbosachi, thank you. Are j is greater than equals to I, no, j will be greater than I only. For this condition we'll just simply print asterisk and end it with a blank string. Okay, and lastly, outside this, both these if conditions and for inner for loop, we'll just go for a printing of end line. So here we go, we'll save it with what, 9 dot py. Yeah, so our pattern is also ready now. Now we need to combine these two. First we have printed the pattern for the upper portion, and now we have printed the pattern for lower portion, right? Now we will combine these two. Okay, let's go for it. Yeah, so first you will open up a new file. Okay, and then we'll copy this entire thing for the lower portion, and before that we'll just open up the previous file, that is the 8th one. Here we have got our 8th file. Now here comes a trickier part. We have to increment exactly once the we have to increment the value of space once, right? Okay, we'll do it, nothing to worry about. Increment the value of space exactly once. Okay, now so our pattern is ready. Let's check on to the question. We didn't even go for the question before solving it. So this was our question exactly. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So this was our question and we have solved it already. Okay, though so this was pretty easy. Questions were pretty easy. I guess everyone has got it, how to solve this kind of patterns using for loops. These questions are really easy, and I will give the PDFs of these questions as well as the codes in the link in the description within few minutes. Thank you for watching the video till now, supporting me. All your love and support means a lot. Your comments means a lot, and do like the video if you like my live session, and let me know about your views about this live session through the comments, and do subscribe to my channel if you are new, so that every time I post a new video you get a notification, and that motivates me too. And lastly, also share with your friends if you want them to see this kind of video. And that was it. This was all for our live session. we'll meet in the live next live session or next video. Till then, thank you, goodbye.